What's going on, guys? Welcome to Everything Always. My name's Michael Roman. Today we've actually got a full Spider-Man Far From Home plot leak that's just a little bit different than the one that's circulating the internet. Unlike overarching themes and a couple of bullet points, this one seems to go a lot further in depth, even providing dialogue, scenarios, and details that set up Spider-Man Far From Home and the rest of the MCU. We're going to break down exactly what's said, read through it, break down the implications, and of course, issue the normal spoiler warning. But first, if you could, grab the subscribe button. We're giving away 2 PlayStation 4 Pros, as well as a whole slew of other Marvel related stuff, including tickets to go see Avengers Endgame while it's still in theaters, and tickets to go see Spider-Man Far From Home in IMAX once they go on sale. All you have to do, hit the subscribe button, then hit the notification bell, leave a like and a comment on this video, and if you want, stick around to the end of the video. I'll get into all the giveaway details again there. So first and foremost, let's issue the spoiler warning, as is the case with all plot leaks and any leaks of the kind. If you want to see Spider-Man Far From Home new and fresh to the ideas that the directors have in store for you, and or if you're highly susceptible to expectations, then maybe it's best you back out of this video now. Also keep in mind, take these things with a grain of salt. Of course, they're just as easily fan fiction and or an amalgamation of all of the trailers and footage seen so far, drawn out to their natural conclusion, but either way, don't allow this to ruin the movie for you. Now, a couple days ago, to the Marvel Spoilers Reddit page, a plot leak was posted for Spider-Man Far From Home that just included bullet points and some overarching themes. This one seems to go a lot further in depth, so rather than reading it and then breaking it down afterwards, I'm just going to annotate with my thoughts and ideas as we go along. The movie opens with Peter, Aunt May, Happy, and a couple others aboard a private jet on their way back from Tony Stark's funeral at his cabin in upstate New York. On their way back to New York City, Happy does his best to console Peter Parker, explaining that Tony would not have sacrificed his own life if he didn't know there were those who were worthy and able to continue the fight, and that Spider-Man should consider himself lucky that Tony thought so highly of him and considered him perhaps his number one to inherit the role. As Peter and Aunt May return to their apartment in Queens, Aunt May reminds Peter that they have that charity event tonight and tries to console him as well, seeming to almost mirror exactly what Happy said to him, and that Tony would have wanted the best for him to continue living his life, and that Tony trusted that he would do his best to protect the people he could when he could, and that's why Tony trusted him so much. She then tells Peter lovingly that he doesn't need to be the next Iron Man, but then jokingly says, "You do need to be Spider-Man, and tonight, so put your suit on because we need to get ready to go." The next scene is of them at the charity event, in which Happy catches up with them backstage. This is when Spider-Man realizes there's something going on between the two of them and voices his disdain before ghosting Nick Fury and leaving to go on his nightly patrol. He also tells the cops, as we saw in the trailer, that he is going on vacation and makes up his mind later that night after he gets home to leave both his Spider-Man costume and metaphorically his Spider-Man responsibilities at home and enjoy his vacation as a break from what's just happened to the entire world. Now guys, before we start the next part of this, I will say that when I read that part of the dialogue about Aunt May, that sounds exactly like the writers over at Spider-Man and also Marissa Tomei's take on the character. That actually piqued my interest to think that this might be real. Also, the conclusion of that sounds like a pretty succinct first act, and when people are doing plot leaks, they don't normally tie things up this way, except that's how it felt. So take that for what it's worth, and let's keep going. The next scene opens with 2 men off screen speaking to each other in a heavily inflected Eastern European accent, could be Russian, explaining that their time has come and those who have done them wrong, particularly the Spider, will meet the end that he deserves. They refer to him 2 more times as the Spider as they continue to talk in plans that are in a different language and not translated on screen. The next scene opens up with Peter on a boat in Venice. This is the first day of their field trip as they've begun in Italy, and they make sure to let the audience know at this point that some time has passed, either a couple of weeks or a month, as Ned remarks that planes have just started flying again since everything's been cleaned up. Ned also goes on to remark that he can't believe a friend of theirs is quote-unquote famous now, a model and in college, while they're still in high school. The day seems to be going smoothly, and Peter continues to flirt with MJ until it's interrupted by the report of some monster attacking London, and this is when, for the first time, we see Mysterio on screen. They remark he must be a new Avenger, although they've never seen him before, and Peter thinks to himself that it's odd he's never heard of this guy. Later in the evening, evening, Peter is visited finally by Nick Fury as he's been ignoring his phone calls and attempts to be in communication up till now. Nick Fury tells him that they have a job to do and something he needs his help with, and that whether he likes it or not, he's coming with him. And when Peter says he insists that he didn't even bring a suit, Nick replies, "You're all out of excuses, kid. Now let's go," and takes Peter Parker to an underground shield base set up in the canals beneath Venice. This is where Spider-Man first meets Quentin Beck, Mysterio, who explains he's from another world, and Spider-Man instantly understands string theory and the multiverse, to the dismay of Maria Hill and Nick Fury. There is someone else present in the shot who doesn't say anything until the final word, and when you hear his voice, realize he must have been the person that was off screen. As Spider-Man goes to battle the next elemental, a rock elemental in Germany, him and Mysterio team up, and he realizes that Mysterio is much more powerful than Spider-Man could ever be. For some reason, Spider-Man can't seem to hit or do any damage to these monsters, but Mysterio knows all the tricks and sweet spots and seems to have unlimited power in taming them. Mysterio goes on to explain to Spider-Man that being from his plane and dimension, he just understands these creatures better, and that's why he has more control. He then tries to attempt to become that mentor figure which Iron Man was to Spider-Man, explaining that he can be anything he wants to be, that he doesn't always have to play the role of the hero, and that if he feels like the responsibility cast upon him is too much, that he can set it aside and leave it to people like Mysterio, whose whole life are meant for that, who understand the responsibility and want to take it head on, who don't have, as he says, loved ones to put at risk. As Spider-Man/Peter Parker has already explained that every time he gets involved, he just seems to lose the people closest to him. At that very moment, the lava elemental that attacked London earlier in the film attacks the amusement park that MJ and the rest of the field trip are at. Spider-Man and Quentin Beck are able to subdue the monster, but not before a lot of people are injured and the entire place is destroyed. MJ almost dies, and it's at this exact point that Spider-Man realizes Mysterio is not all that he seems to be, that something is going on here, because during the battle with the lava elemental, his web seems to catch a metal plate that comes off, revealing circuitry underneath. Spider-Man immediately realizes that these actually may be robots, and that Mysterio, while combating them, may actually be controlling them. He then decides that it's his turn to take a stab and see what's really going on, and goes into complete Tony Stark mode, using the black stealth suit given to him by Fury and the red and blue suit that Aunt May packed for him even though he meant to leave it at home. He deconstructs both Spider-Man costumes and builds a new one with the technology combined of the two. He then uses the piece of plate that he got off of the elemental with the circuitry underneath and implements it into his suit, remarking out loud, "We'll see who's in control now." There's a knock at the door, and MJ asks if he'd like to get some air, to which he agrees, and while they're on their walk, he attempts to tell MJ how he feels about her, but she stops him and calls him out for being Spider-Man, to which he replies, "I don't know if I can be Spider-Man anymore, but there's something I have to do." She replies, "Oh, there's something you have to do? Of course there is. You're Spider-Man. Go get him." He leaves and goes to attempt to find Mysterio, but realizes he doesn't know exactly where they are, when all of a sudden his spider sense goes off and all of his hair stands up, only to turn around and see Nick Fury standing there. He says, "Nick, I was just looking for you. Mysterio's not who we think he is," to which Nick doesn't reply. Upon further inquiry, trying to understand what's going on, Nick's face starts to slowly change and changes into the person present in the scene underneath the canals. When he speaks, we realize it's the voice of the person off screen from earlier in the movie. He reveals himself as the Chameleon and says that he will pay for what he has done to him and his family. Spider-Man then sees the rest of the villains behind him, the Vulture, the Scorpion, Mysterio, and an epic Spider-Man battle ensues between Spider-Man and the four of them. For only a short time before Peter thinks to himself, they were illusions before, why can't they be illusions now, and interacts with the technology on his wrist from the plate he stole off the Molten Monster, turning all of those supervillains into superheroes. Where stood the Vulture and Scorpion, now stand Iron Man and Captain America, illusions at that, and then square off against Mysterio and the Chameleon, easily defeating them. As soon as the work is done, he wishes Tony an extremely heartfelt goodbye, to which Tony's AI seems to be intelligent and tells him, "Kid, I'm proud of you, just keep doing this and it'll all be worth it." A crying Peter then sees his friends reunited and the real Nick Fury approaches. The movie ends with Peter back at his apartment in Queens telling Aunt May that he has some stuff to do with the suit. bringing it up to his room and immediately opening up the panel that created the Tony Stark illusion. He contemplates whether to turn it on or not before removing a hammer from his upper drawer and smashing it into bits. The movie closes but opens up rather quickly in the post-credit scene to a familiar Avengers Tower, now newly renovated and donning the name Oscorp before it cuts to black, of course insinuating the Sinister Six. Guys, this has been an absolutely crazy plot leak, and there are so many parts of this I love. I understand now why his suit would be black and red. Of course, it makes sense. He's going to combine the two suits, and I also really like Tom Holland's character being that smart Peter Parker, that super genius. We haven't really seen that yet at all. This does feel like a succinct 3-act movie, and it might be false. It might be some really good fan fiction, but I have to say this is a lot better written than some of those Avengers Endgame plot leaks we got, especially towards the end there. We were like 15 deep, and about 8 of them seemed like they were written by a 5-year-old. But guys, let me know what you think in the comments. Were there any things in here that you thought were particularly on point or made you think of something you hadn't before? Like I said, I think it was well written, and even if it's fan fiction, it was entertaining enough. And quickly, let's get into the giveaway stuff before I let you go. All right, we're giving away 2 PlayStation 4 Pros, one at the 400,000 subscriber mark, which we're halfway to. Also, we're giving away a PlayStation 4 Pro over on my Spotify account, which is also free to enter, and a lot less people are going to do it, so your odds are way higher. All you have to do, follow the link below to my Spotify account, Allfires, stream the song and follow the account, screenshot that, and then send it to everythingalwaysYT@gmail.com. Like I said, far fewer people are going to do that than subscribing to the channel. We're also giving away tickets to go see Avengers Endgame in IMAX while it's still in theaters, and tickets to go see Spider-Man Far From Home in IMAX when they finally go on sale. All you have to do to win the PlayStation or the tickets or any of the other stuff we announce as prizes here at the channel, hit the subscribe button, then hit the notification bell, then leave a like and a comment on the video, and the more videos that you like and comment on, the better chance you have of winning. My name's Michael Roman. This is Everything Always. Thanks for checking out the channel, guys, and stick around. We'll be posting again real soon.